Let me feel your love again.
Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome to day 3 of the 5-day eBay.js challenge. It's gonna be a lot of fun. You guys have been incredible throughout. We want to keep the energy super high because we're setting new standards for these challenges each and every time. Blows my mind, the participation afterwards. We're going to dive into that in just a second. So like the video, subscribe, and let me know in the comments right now where you're tuning in from, whether it's replay or whether you're joining me right now live. Let's get the energy up because we're going to go ahead and have some big time fun today with what we're going to be adding to our eBay.js app. Welcome to day 3 of the eBay Next.js challenge. And let me see, I got Ali, Fawaz, Mahfouz, Papicha, Samath, Rock, MRA, George. What is going on, guys? Welcome to day 3 of the eBay.js challenge. Let's jump into it, guys. South Africa in the house, Croatia, Nigeria, India, UK, worldwide, South Africa, Hungary. Let's go, guys. Iran in the house too. Yo, what is going on? Canada, Ethiopia. That's what I'm talking about. Australia. Hey, let's go. Right, guys, let's waste no time. Let's dive straight into day 3 of the 5-day challenge. I know you guys have been eager. The homework has been unreal. I've said to Jay, it is unbelievable how many people are participating in the homework. It's crazy. You guys must be enjoying the challenge or the prizes or whatever it is. Thank you and keep the energy through. Let's dive into day 3 of today's challenge. If you're ready, go ahead and comment right now. The energy is already super high, so I'm going to go ahead and present it on anyway. But just comment saying, let's go right now if you are excited for today. So what we're going to build today, right? I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick demo, but we're going to add on to yesterday's build. We're going to be implementing the ability to add an item into our inventory. So this is essentially known as minting, where we're basically going to go ahead, take our item and put it onto the blockchain, literally, right? And we're going to do that. I'm going to show you how to do that. And we're going to create a form and all this other cool stuff to go ahead and power that up. Then we're going to go ahead and add the ability to list that item that we've added on. And bear in mind, yes, you will own the item as it is going to be an NFT inside of your wallet. And then we're going to go ahead and list it. So we're going to go ahead and show you how to do a direct or an auction listing. So all of that is going to go ahead and happen today. That would not be possible without our amazing power of Third Web. So Third Web, absolutely incredible. We've already gone ahead and created our NFT collection and our marketplace contracts on Third Web. You guys saw how easy it is, and I couldn't do any of this if it wasn't for the power of Third Web helping me out. I couldn't do it in the time that we have done it. Honestly, it is absolutely a game changer. So I am excited to bring it to you guys today. So we're going to go ahead and be adding in this functionality right now. So you guys can see we're going to have the add to inventory page over here. So you can actually go ahead and add an item and you'll be able to mint it onto the blockchain. And then that's going to go ahead and be inside of your inventory that you're allowed to then go ahead and list items from. So we're going to go ahead and add the ability to select an item, make it a direct or an auction listing. And then you're going to go ahead and add a price, create a listing, and you're going to see it over on this screen. So as you can see, yesterday we added a bunch of different items in. So if you are joining from yesterday, or if you're joining from previously and you don't know where the hell we're at, make sure you just go ahead, start from day 1, day 2, day 3 onwards. You can go ahead and follow this out. This is going to be up on YouTube afterwards. It's easy to follow along. We got some OGs in the house. What is going on, Jimmy? Good to see you here. Alicia, yo, this is awesome, guys. I love the energy. Let's go ahead and continue on strong. So I've gone ahead and shown you a demo already. We're going to go ahead and dive into what we're going to actually learn today, right? So React obviously is the way to go. We've got Next.js and we are using version 13. Just because we're not using the new page routing, the new other stuff, doesn't mean we're not using Next.js 13. I promise you it is Next.js version 13, but we're just not using all their crazy new stuff which they've added in. But I will be in a video to come up, so make sure you subscribe if you're interested in that. Of course, we're going to be using Third Web to power up the challenge, and we've got Tailwind to make it extremely beautiful and responsive. Mohammed says, hi Sunny, I want to join challenge, but is it too late? No, it's not too late. You can join even on the replay. It's actually crazy what we've managed to achieve. So thank you, PAPAFAM, for being incredible and helping each other out. And if you do want more help, remember the Facebook group is the place to go. That's where you can go ahead and post your homework, all that good stuff. You're going to get homework links and everything like that. And if you do want to take your skill set even higher, remember, join us over at my flagship community, Zero to Full Stack Hero, where we go ahead and teach you everything from the zero skill set, individuals, all the way up to the people landing those crazy good jobs, right? We're covering the whole entire spectrum. We do it over at Zero to Full Stack Hero. And there's already over 750 developers inside of our awesome inner community. So make sure you head over there to join us. Right, remember guys, if you haven't and you want to get all of these free prizes, including 3 ebooks, 2 free courses, and the podcast, the playlist that you're listening to right now, then you just need to go ahead and sign up to the final day. All the links are in the description down below. So make sure you go ahead and do that. I want to make sure that you all get those free prizes that we've worked so hard to go ahead and deliver to you, right? Points in this challenge so that you can go ahead and win. Let's go ahead and dive into what you can expect to go ahead and win if you do the following in this challenge. So 1 point if you like, subscribe, comment on the videos. Very simple, right? 1 point for every time you do that. It's actually the easiest way to probably get those points. Number 2. Oh, this is day 2, sorry, the love and share that you guys have shared. This is incredible, right? Look at this, like the positivity. It's so nice to see this, and I do appreciate and I try to reply to every single person. So thank you, incredible so far, right? 2 points for tagging me in your stories. You can see right here, Kenyo Otis actually shared away on his Instagram story. And trust me, I've seen loads of you guys, so don't think that I'm not acknowledging it if I don't repost it. It's just if I repost them, my timeline is going to be stuffed with everyone, but it's actually incredible to see. So thank you so much, guys. We got 3 points for helping people with their homework. This is the main aspect of the community. David was helping out D. Evine in his homework, and not just a short amount of help. Look at the love and effort he put into that answer. That's what we're doing here, right? We're stopping those blockers from making you hate coding, and we're getting you to become the best developer self. Referring others is another way to get 4 points, and 5 for submitting your homework on all of the days, right? So yesterday's homework was a nice juicy bit of building the first part of the eBay clone, and loads of you have come through. So the links are in the Facebook group or in the description right now, so you can feel free to head over there. And as I mentioned, if you haven't already, that's the easiest place to go ahead and find any of the links that you're searching for, right? So this was the homework submission form for today. Yesterday was very similar, and throughout the days now, between today and tomorrow and yesterday, they're going to be very similar homework submission forms. Pretty much deploying the eBay clone so I can review it, see it, read it, that kind of stuff. Delvin says, the community is amazing, bro. The guys are so patient and always there to help. That's what the PAPAFAM is about. That is what we literally do. So yesterday's homework, set up your authentication flow with MetaMask, building out the entire front end. So we did all of this juicy stuff, connect your wallet, front end, all this kind of stuff, and connecting over to Third Web and deploying. Guys, I couldn't believe it. I'm not joking. I could not believe it. I genuinely thought, okay, maybe we're going to get a couple of hundred. 750 people. That's the most submissions that I have actually seen on that day of a challenge before. So well done to absolutely everyone who is tuning in afterwards, watching the replay and submitting their homework, because it took us one hell of a long time to go ahead and nail this down. Let's check out some of the best submissions. If you're ready for this, get ready, because remember, if you get featured now, it's an extra 10 bonus points. We've got David Kiss. I see you, dude. Look at these. It's just so cool how he's got these nice little, he's stocked it out with his own kind of, his own items, which look pretty damn awesome. We've got Alicia. I see you in the chat as well, so well done. You've done an awesome job. She's added in descriptions so she could test her app properly. Awesome stuff. Christian Tool, I love it, bro. You carried out the instructions flawlessly. We've got those iPhones on sale already. We've got Fran. Look at this. Already worked. And he added in some buy now and auction types so he could test that functionality. We've got Kaushik. I love this, right? You take our build and you change it and you make it your own, right? This one is awesome. He's added in his own, carousel component. The only thing I would say is be careful of the padding, right? The little details make the app everything. So you see the padding there? Just please, guys, take the extra time to get into it, right? This is awesome. He's added new stuff. Just don't forget the small things also count. Right, but amazing stuff so far. Sheriff Dean, we got the nice light and dark mode. Lewis Ryan also implemented that feature, and he changed it to 3-bay, which I love, right? There's a play on the Web3 bit of tech. So awesome stuff. Really like it. I would say for night mode, I'd probably invert these colors as well, but Amazing job, Lewis. Really, really awesome stuff. Then we've got Bao Hawkinson, who added in this ability at the top here to change colors. I loved it, right? Different, functional, it's cool, man. Honestly, well done. Thank you so much for submitting your homework. Everyone who I just mentioned, 10 bonus points immediately, right? I see so many people jumping in now. We've got Brajando, we've got Ellen, we've got MRA, Abazena, we've got Yoni, Delvin. Yo, this is awesome, guys. Welcome to the stream. And just to let you know, we are streaming on several platforms right now. So there's over 350 people across platforms, not just YouTube. So this is actually really cool to see. Right, so what can you win in this challenge? First prize, Diamond Mentorship Experience, right? Plus $500. This is access to our course. Everything that we give and offer, you're gonna get it, right? Literally, period. And you're getting a cash prize. Second place, Papa Platinum, $250, plus access to the entire course. Not the Diamond Mentorship, which is why you wanna hit first, but it's damn straight and it's damn powerful, and you've got over 100 hours of bloody amazing content in there. Third place, access to all the code repos and 50% off access to our platinum membership. So make sure you go ahead, get those points in if you want to go ahead and win, right? Georgette says, what is the mentorship program? Go ahead to paparia.com/course and go and check it out. Now, it's a mentorship program where you're basically going to go ahead and get fortnightly, weekly coaching calls with myself, right? So it's going to be a much smaller, intense program that we offer. It's got over 50 hours of dedicated content in just that diamond course, and that includes all the platinum stuff as well. So you get an extra 100 hours. It's an overload of content, and the main thing that we do is it's weekly. Like a weekly updating. So we're always trying to stay ahead. So Next.js 13 came out, bam, I'm on Next.js 13. I'm teaching you how to do it. So that's what I'm talking about. That's what we do in the mentorship program, right? So let's go ahead and jump into day 3 by building the minting and direct auction listing functionalities. Let's dive into this, PAPAFAM, right? So I'm going to go ahead and quickly have a little water break because my AC is killing me right now. But I see the retention is awesome. Look at this, guys. Let's jump into it. Okay, make sure you actually drink water when you're coding. I know too many people who are like, I didn't drink water, I didn't use the bathroom, I didn't do anything for like 10 hours. It's not about that. It's about the long play. Take care of yourself and then code, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and dive into it. So I've got my reference over here. This is what we're gonna be using. So yesterday, we got to a point where we had the header, the front end UI, and the add to inventory and list item just took us to these /add item, but we don't have the page yet. So we're gonna go ahead and actually add in that page, right? So starting things off from last time, I'm gonna go ahead and select some new songs from the PAPAFAM playlist. So let's go ahead and dial in right now. Right, now if this is your first time coding with me, or if you're coming back on the stream, just know that we don't like to code the boring way. I like to code with a bit of music on, I like to make it a bit of a vibe, and then we have a bit of fun as well. So let's just enjoy the process together right now, right? First thing we're gonna do, add in this add item screen. So when you're coding in Next.js, you have this pages folder, and this pages folder is very simple, right? It's basically, if I add a file, that file name will become the root, and you can have nested folders and all that good stuff as well. So we're going to go ahead and create a new file called additem.tsx. And this is going to go ahead and use our TypeScript React functional component. There we go. That's a beautiful extension I taught you about earlier. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say, this is the add item page. This is the add item page. I'm not gonna lie, yeah, I know it's my own playlist, but I am damn biased and proud of this playlist. This playlist is the best coding. I listen to this when I code. All right, this is the add item page. Then we're gonna go over to our app right now, and as you can see, it's no longer a 404. It's the add item page. So if we head back to the home page, and then we go ahead and click on the add to inventory, you'll see we go to this is the add item page. So first thing we can do here, very simply, we can add in the header component, which we've already built. This is the beautiful thing about React, is component-based design, right? So you can go ahead, simply pop that in, and just like that, I already have the header in. Okay, amazing. Delvin says the music is top notch. PAPAFAM, the future of coding. I'm learning so much. Dude, that's what I'm talking about. It's all about having a good time, enjoying the process, right? There's no point coding if you're not enjoying it, right? Just, you gotta find your way. Don't listen to these tutorials where it's like you have to dial in for like 25 hours a day. Just enjoy the process and everything else comes after that, right? So that's why I like to keep it real with you guys. We like to have fun while we do it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and connect to our NFT collection, right? So this one right here. So yesterday we did a connection to the eBay marketplace to go ahead and show all of the things on the front end, right? Now, as you can see, now what we're trying to essentially replicate is on my screen right now. I have two smart contracts. I have the left, which is the NFT collection, the right, which is the marketplace. The marketplace is responsible for holding NFTs in a direct or auction listing fashion. So you can see here, we've got the type of auctions that are active right now on my right. On my left, we have the ability to mint NFTs, right? Now, what I want to do here is I want to allow our users to go ahead and mint NFTs onto the collection so that they get it in their wallet. Once it's in their wallet, we're going to allow them to list it on the marketplace, okay? So first step, we need to replicate this mint functionality in our code. So I need to make a connection here from our front end. So how the hell do we do that? Well, the first things first is we're going to go ahead and pull in some dependencies that we're going to need and rely on. So let's go ahead and pop that in right now. And let's make the screen a little bit bigger for you guys so you guys can read this a bit easier. Amy Lemuke says, love your way of teaching, always feel motivated because of you to code always and practice my stuff. Love Sunny. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Amy. And thank you for being an awesome member. So what we're going to do first is we're going to make a connection to our contract. Okay. So here what we do is we say const, and we're going to deconstruct the contract from the use contract. Cool. Now remember yesterday we did something called environment variables. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap into those environment variables today by saying next process.env.next public, and we're not using the marketplace contract. We're using the collection contract instead. Okay. So I did add these in yesterday inside of my env local file. Okay. So that's where you want to go ahead and pop those in. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and put a comma. Now you can see my IntelliSense is telling me there's a bunch of different types of things that we can go ahead and pop in. So in this case, I can go ahead and drop down to the NFT collection because this is of type NFT collection, right? Now let's go ahead and hit save. Now what I want you to do is simply go ahead and console log your contract out, and you should see on your app right now. Let's go ahead and just pull it up on the screen. I have it on my, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and F12. You should be able to see that the NFT collection is being connected to. Awesome stuff, right? So we've got a connection here and we've got a bunch of different things inside. So we know we have made a successful connection. If it's undefined, it means that you need to go ahead and fix this part, okay? Delvin says, I've been struggling to venture into coding, but the moment I met Sunny and the PAPAFAM tutorials are so relatable. Sunny's explanation is so good. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for, honestly, I really appreciate these comments. Okay, now we also have a logged in user. So how do I get the logged in user? I'm going to go ahead and connect by getting the address, and this is not destructured. I'm going to get the address from the use address hook. So this will give me the user if they are logged in to the application. So now I've got my two key pieces that I can use to go ahead and proceed. Okay, so the first things first, let's go ahead and build out the page that we need to build. So I want to build out this page right here, add an item to the marketplace. I want this on my screen, and notice how this is a beautiful oh, I actually need to make that responsive. I'll do it right now. Okay, so in this case we're going to go ahead and build this out. So first thing that we're going to want you to do is go ahead down here and create a section called main. Okay. Oh, Z-Hacks, this is so sick. Maybe not, hope to be done soon. I'll catch up with you guys there. Don't worry, dude. If you're behind on the homework, just enjoy the show and then submit your homework afterwards. I'm reviewing it all anyway before day 5, so make sure you just enjoy this process. Don't stress, right? And it's awesome to have you here, Z-Hacks. Add an item to the marketplace. Let's go. Bam. I'd rather you enjoy the stream with me and then do the homework after. Then this is going to say item details. Let's go ahead and save. And as you can see now, let's go ahead and show this. Bam. Oh, oops. I've gone ahead and minimized myself. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and pop this over here. Bam. Okay. And let's use our local host. Awesome stuff. Okay. Add to inventory. There you go. Add an item to the marketplace, item details. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a P tag. And in this P tag, I'm just having a little bit of an explanation as to what the hell is going on here. So by adding an item to the marketplace, you're essentially minting an NFT. Okay. Just going to go ahead and just add in that text right there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add in our max width constraint. So yesterday you would have noticed that we had this max width constraint, which prevents our header from going ahead and using too much space, which makes it, you know, really hard to go ahead and read what's going on, right? Thank you, Mohammed, for the kind comments. We're going to add in max width. I really like this song. Honestly, I've been listening to this quite a lot when I'm coding. Max width 6XL. We're going to center it with MX Auto. There we go. A padding of 10. Georges, I want you to join the PAPAFAM after the 5-day challenge. 100%, my brother. All right, we hit border. And now, just like that, we get a nice border around. Okay? So you can see it's centered out. Really, really nice. Okay? H1, we're going to say class name text is going to be 4XL. Hit save. And immediately, you're going to start seeing things be popping in. And it's going to look a lot cleaner. Now, I'm going to go ahead and restart my server here because I'm getting a bit of a weird hot reload situation. Go ahead and hit save. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and say font bold. Nice. Okay. Now for here, the item is going to be H2. And then I'm going to say text should be extra large. The font should be semi-bold. And I want to make it padding top of 5. Hit save. Okay. So let's go ahead and see what's going on. There we go. Nice. Right. Now for the padding, for the p tag, I'm going to add a padding bottom of 5, so the element under it isn't going to be touching. Now here, I'm going to add a div, and we're going to have an image tag. Now for the image tag here, I'm using an image tag because I'm not sure of wherever the image is always going to come from for our preview. No, I am sure, but you can refactor this afterwards to make use of the Next.js image tag, okay? I've added an entire video on my channel. I'm not getting into it right now. At this point, we're going to go ahead and I've got a placeholder video image here that you can all feel free to use. Okay? So we've got the links.pop-react. There you go. Now we should have a nice little placeholder. Okay? Then what I want to do is I'm going to style this up a little bit. So I'm going to say image, class name. This one's going to be it's going to have a border. It's going to have a height of 80 and a width of 80. And we're going to say object contain. Nice. Delvin says, my day 1 was kind of hard, but because of Sunny's motivation and energy, my day 2 was flowing. Believe me, it's the best place for you. I love it, dude. I love it so much. Thank you, dude. Very inspirational to have you here. Look at that. That looks very clean. Okay. Then we're going to have a form, and the form is going to be responsible for holding all of the information here. So we're basically going to have this information in a form so we can submit and hit the enter key, and it will go ahead and submit that form. Okay. So we've got a form here, and inside my form, I'm going to have a label, input, label, input, label, input, and so forth. So a label and an input. So the label for the first one is going to say name of item, and then we've got an input. Oops. And for my input, it's just going to be a text, and the placeholder is going to be enter a value or whatever we want to do. I'm just going to say enter something. So placeholder. This one's going to be entering the name, I believe. So here we've got enter name of the item. So let's write name of item. Okay. And there you go. We can see it right there. Nice. And then I'm going to go ahead and repeat this. So I've got a label, and I'm going to go ahead and put my input tag as well underneath. And inside this label, I'm going to say description. Okay, let me know if you're coding along with me now, or if you're going ahead and doing it afterwards. It's kind of cool to know, right? So we're going to have enter description, ... Okay. And then underneath this, we're going to have an additional thing, but it's going to be for the image of the item. So we're going to say label. And this one's going to be image of the item. Right now, if you want to have a file picker, it's very simple. All you need to do is go ahead and type in input, and you do type file. Okay, and just like that, now we have a file picker. So if I click it, you can see it opens up a file picker on the screen, right? So I just want to hide it. There we go. Right, so in that case, we've got a file picker on the screen. Nice. All right, and then I'm going to have a button, and the button will say add/mint item. There we go. So check this out. Really, really clean. Okay, so now how do we go ahead and do this afterwards? What we're going to do now is we're going to go to our form, and we're going to add a little bit of styling. So I'm going to say flex column. Flex. I don't read people's comments if you ask me to read your comment, right? Flex column. And then I'm going to say flex 1. So it uses up the majority of the space on the screen. Okay. Then we're going to say padding of 2 space Y of 2. Okay, so there you go. Bit of space between them. That's looking a bit better. And now what I want to do is I actually want to kind of center out everything. So I'm going to say justify center. And it wasn't that, sorry. I've messed that one up. I'm going to do that afterwards actually. So where's my image? Oh, my image is actually, oh, that's correct. I wanted the image out there. Yeah, so it's the div that I was thinking about. So it's going to be here, div flex. Okay. Now, you can see that it's not responsive here, right? So what we want to do is we want to say on a mobile, by default, it's going to be flex column, okay? And what we can do here is we can justify everything centrally, right? So justify central, and I'm going to go ahead and center everything as well, okay? That looks a little bit cleaner, okay? And then what you can do is, as the screen gets bigger, so on a medium screen above, we can go into a flex row. And now I'll show you the behavior here. So as we do that, you can see that it goes into a flex row. So very, very clean way of doing it. And there you go. We've just made it responsive dynamically live on air. Okay. So once that's done, we're going to go ahead and style out the labels like so. So I'm going to go ahead and multi-click by pressing Option and clicking in several places. Class name. Then I'm going to go ahead and give this a font light. Okay. Make it a little bit nicer. Then we're going to go into our input for the second and first element, type in class name, and here I'm going to go ahead and simply put in something called form field, and I'm going to go ahead and make my form field custom class now. So heading over to globals, this is where we are responsible for adding in our own custom utility classes. So here I'm going to add something in called form field, and here I'm going to say @apply. This is how I add in my custom Tailwind utility class rules here. And inside of here, what I want to do is I simply want to go ahead and start styling out what this will look like. So I'm going to say border to border gray 300. And you can see right now, border gray, border gray. There we go. And you can see we start adding it in. Hit save every time so you can see your difference as you're doing it. Let's give it a white background color, a height of 10. There we go. Let's give it a padding on the x-axis of 5. Padding on the right of 16. So I want it to be a little bit more pushed away from the right side. Rounded should be large, so it's smooth, not kind of ugly. I'm going to say text should be small, but when I focus on it, I want the outline to be none. In fact, we could just say outline none from the get-go. And as you can see now, I get this nice kind of effect going on. Okay, so very similar to what we've got in our final build. Okay, the next up, we're going to go ahead and head over back to our class. And then here, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and actually start wiring in things now. So you can see here, there's a little bit of spacing gap there that I want to fix. So here, what we can do is rather than adding a margin left or something like that, we can say when we've gone past that size, so on the medium screen, I want to add a space X of 5. Right? Now you can see between them, I've got a bit of a gap now. That's nice, right? Cool. So at this point, we're going to go ahead, and that's looking pretty decent. You could probably give a little bit more of a padding at the top there. So we are going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to say padding on the top of 10. You can go ahead and give a little bit of a breathing room gap there. So in that case, there you go. It looks a bit cleaner. I'll probably give it a 5 instead. Okay. And right now, it's a little bit glitching out with my hot reloading, but that's fine. It just does a full refresh instead, which is completely cool. Okay, so now what's the goal? The goal is firstly, we're going to customize this button. Then we're going to have it so I enter in a name, enter in a description, enter in an item image, click add mint item, and it's going to actually mint that onto our NFT inventory in our collection. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that right now. Right, I want to change the music as well. I've got some really nice songs that I want to bring on. Here we go. Right, quick little water break. Awesome. Okay, so next up, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and go down. 1 second. Okay, so at this point, we're gonna go ahead and have it so I capture the information in here, capture the information in here, and capture the image, and then go ahead and submit it, okay? So at this point, we're gonna go ahead. Firstly, I need to change that button. It's driving me crazy. So here we're gonna say BG Blue, 600. Font should be bold. Text should be white. Hit save, let's see it. rounded full, padding Y of 4, padding X of 10, width of 56. I want it to kind of be set on its way. Margin top, I'm going to do auto, margin left of auto as well. Okay. And in fact, what we've done here, which is incorrect, is we're going to say after the medium screen only, I want it to be left aligned. Okay. On the smaller screen, I'm going to say margin X should be auto. I actually want to center it. Okay. And I kind of don't like the fact that it's too close to the top. So on a small screen, I'm going to say margin top of 5. I'm going to give it a margin top of auto after the big screen. But on the small screen, I'm saying margin top of 5. And what this will do now is it will push it away from here. Where are we gone? There you go. That's fine. Bothering me a little bit. We could do a Y spacing issue. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to leave it for now. That's completely cool. I'm happy with that. Right. If you really want to go that extra length, you could go ahead and just add a margin bottom here of 10. It would push it even further down, right? Or padding down below, whatever you want to do. Okay. So once that's done now, what we need to do is we need to handle the input file field accordingly. So with this one, what I want to do is I'm going to say on change, which means whenever the user changes that value, we're going to have an inline arrow function fire off. Okay. Now what we want to do here is we have to basically get something called a preview URL. So basically, whenever you select a file, I need to basically get a way of getting a representable URL that we can show on the screen. So I'm going to show you how we can do that. So first up, what we need is a piece of state for a few different elements, right? But the one that I really care about right now is an image. So I'm going to have one example for the preview image that you're going to see on the screen. So set preview. Okay. And this is going to go ahead and use some state. Okay, and we're going to import this from React. Nice. And this is going to be of type string. So in TypeScript, you can cast it by a hard value here. And then I'm going to have another set of data for the image itself. And that is of type file. Okay. Heading back down, whenever we change that file, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and make sure, firstly, that a value was selected. So firstly, I say if, and I say e.target.files, and I say it could be undefined. So we're going to access it with an optional chaining safety net. And then what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to go ahead and say set the preview. So if I can't do set preview as the entire file, it won't work. Instead, I have this special command called URL create object, that one right there. Right? And what this is doing is giving me a URL that I can then show inside of an image tag. So I'm going to show that inside of this image tag so you see a preview. But what I'm also going to do is I'm also going to store the image, its file itself. Okay. So in that case, there. And we're already checking if it's there, so we don't actually need to optional chain the value like so. We're already doing that check here. Okay. So at this point now, where have I messed this up? There we go. Okay. So good stuff. We save it inside of our state now. Now what we can do is we can go ahead. And this actually, by the way, this will upload. Once we do this, it's going to upload to something called IPFS, which is the Interplanetary File System. I know it's a crazy name, but it's actually so much easier to upload to IPFS using Third Web than you would think, right? So we're going to go ahead and do that today. So we've done that nicely. Now for these two input fields, I need to give them an ID and name, right? So these are going to be for referencing afterwards. So I'm going to give the first one the name tag, so name and ID of tag, and the second one description. Okay, so name and ID of description. Okay, let's go ahead and do that now. Now there's loads of ways that you can get information after you go ahead and actually submit a form. I'm going to show you one of the ways now, but you could use state to map out as you type in, it updates the state. You could use refs, and you could also use the name and ID convention that I'm going to do now. So I'm going to use this one because I don't tend to use this one a lot in builds. Right, so we're going to create a function eventually called NFT, mint NFT, which is going to be called on the submit. Okay, so I agree with Adil. We don't say bootstrap here, we say tailwind. Right, big difference. All right, so we're going to go ahead and when we submit this form, I want to go ahead and mint the NFT. So one thing we have to do here is for the button, we're going to make it type submit. Cool. Now we're going to go up to our top and we're going to go ahead and create a mint NFT function. This is going to be an asynchronous function. And this is basically going to be connected now. Okay. So first up, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and pass in the value of E. So whenever you submit a form, we tend to have an E. Now, I'm going to show you a trick in TypeScript that a lot of people don't actually know about. I teach it in a mentorship course, but it's a really good way of getting a type definition if you don't know what it is. So in this case, you might be wondering, oh shit, oh crap, like what's the type definition here, right? So in this case, what you could do is, if you go down to the core where it has the mint NFT, and you simply put an arrow here, right? So you do an arrow function, and then you hover over, it will give me the exact type. So form event, HTML form element. Then what you can do is, you can go ahead, remove that, go up here, pop it in, import the type definition, and bam, just like that, I have perfect type definition. So now if I do e.prevent default, you see it's already there. Perfect. Right? Really kind of a nice kind of little thing. I see the chat caught me slipping with a little bit of language. It's all good. We're real here. All right. So first thing I want to do as well, I want to check if there is no contract, right? Or if there is no address, then I'm going to just return. Okay. So that's a really nice little trick, by the way. I know a lot of you are saying, wow, I didn't know how you do that. Right. So that's how you're going to go ahead and do that. Okay. So next up, what we want to do is I'm going to say if there was no image selected, then I'm going to alert the screen, alert the user saying, please select an image, right? And then I'm going to return. So this is called defensive programming. We're basically putting in these defensive statements to stop the code executing past this if we haven't got the desired requirements, right? So that's pretty cool. Then next up, what we've got here is inside of a form element, so this E, so TypeScript's not going to know by default that we have this name and description inside of there. So what we need to do is we need to create a custom type definition. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically go ahead and say the const, and the target here is basically what we're pointing at, right? So what I'm going to say is we're going to get e.target. So this is typically how I'd access that. You see here we done e.target.files. So this is typically how we get the elements out of it, out of the form. What I can do is I can say if it's a type of e.target, but I'm also going to extend the type definitions. So this is me adding on my own type definitions. I'm going to add in a name and I'm going to add in a description. And inside, it's going to be essentially, think of it this way, it's going to be e.target.name.value, e.target.name, description.value. That's how I get those values out in a safe TypeScript approach. Okay. So at this point, what we can do is I'm going to go ahead and we need to define what the metadata of the NFT looks like. So when we mint it, the metadata is all of this, and you can have properties as well. Yes. All right. So in this case, what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and say const metadata equals, and I'm going to go ahead and build out this object, right? So in this case, we can say target.name.value is where I get the name from. Description is target.description.value. And again, this is pulling it from the form values on submitting, right? And the final one is going to be the image itself. And this is not going to be the preview, it's going to be the actual file, okay? And this could be an image URL or a file, okay? So you can do it either way, right? But I'm going to show you how to do the file picker because it's kind of nice. Okay, then we're going to have a try catch block. And the reason being is because I want to have some defensive programming here so we can catch any errors if they were to happen at this point. So if anything happens here, I'm going to go ahead and error it out. And you probably could just do console.error. Cool. And then we're going to go ahead and do a try and catch, right? So inside of here, this is where we do the magic of minting that information, so that metadata to the blockchain using ThirdWeb's API, right? So they're using the SDK. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say const the transaction. Okay, so TX equals await. Now what I do is I access the contract that we invoked earlier, which connects to our NFT collection. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to say contract.mint2. So you see you've got loads of different options, but I'm going to mint 2. And this allows me to select the address that I want to mint to. So the person that I'm logged in as, that's the address I want to mint into. And the metadata is the information that is about the NFT. Okay, so essentially think of it like this. You go on eBay, you add in your information for your item, and then you make a posting on eBay, right? So what we're doing instead is we're creating an NFT which represents our item. That then goes into our inventory or our wallet. And then from that wallet, we can then list an item. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so we've got the transaction. Then I'm going to go ahead and I can get some information after that, right? So what I can actually go ahead and do is I can get a few details like the receipt, the token ID, and the NFT itself afterwards. right? So in this case, I can get a bunch of things like this is all information that you might want to look at afterwards. You could store it in a database. You could do whatever you want to do with that if you feel the need to, right? You don't need to because it's all on kind of the blockchain to look at afterwards. But in this case, you could go ahead and get it and log it out like so. Okay, then what I want to do is I want to redirect the user back to the home page once they've successfully done this. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get something called the router. In Next.js, this allows me to reroute the user to a different area on the page or on their website. So in this case, I've got const router. And what I'm going to do is go down afterwards and I'm going to say here, router dot replace, or you could do a push call. Right, push would actually allow the user to come back to the page afterwards. I'm going to push them back to the home screen. Okay, so just like that, we have minting functionality. That's actually crazy, right? If you think about what I just did there, that's actually crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and say, let's add an item. So I'm going to say the PAPAFAM logo, and this is the PAPAFAM logo. Wow. And then I'm going to choose the image. Now I'm going to hide my screen while I choose it because I might have some other files there. So I'm going to go ahead and find that file right now. So I have the logo on my computer. Awesome. And I've gone ahead and selected it. Now we've got a slight issue. I'm not seeing my preview. And that's because, remember, we stored the preview value, but we did not actually go ahead and change our image to show it. So what I need to do is very simple. I just go ahead and say preview, or the fallback option will be a placeholder. Hit save, and just like that, we should see our example. So here, and I need to go and say the PAPAFAM logo. This is the amazing logo for the PAPAFAM, and then we go ahead and choose a file. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my file right now. Bam. And now, just like that, you can see we have a beautiful little display, and you see it's fully responsive. And it looks really nice. And if I click add on mint item now, let's see what happens, right? So ignore this one. This is an extension I have. But you see IPFS started progress. So it's literally uploading that file to the interplanetary file system, right? Very small amount of code. If you think about it, way more simple than something like Firebase, right? So in this case, I've gone ahead and done it. It's going to go ahead and mint to the address that I'm logged in as, A5. In this case, we've got our dev account is A5. Let's go ahead and confirm the transaction. So now if we look inside of our MetaMask, you can see that there is a pending blockchain transaction for this right now. Now it says amount 0, so it could error out, I think, maybe. We might have to redo this one, but let's see if it goes through, right? So we're minting to our wallet. So the PAPAFAM logo, this is the amazing logo of the PAPAFAM. And what we should see afterwards is it get added into here. Right, in just a short second. It should be the last one afterwards. Let's see what happened. Okay, mint 2 was successful, and here you have it on line 47. So this is where we should have the receipt. So if you look down here, line 47 was where we console logged the receipt, token ID, and everything afterwards. There you go. That's a successful transaction call. And just like that as well, it redirected me to the home page afterwards, which means that it was successfully minted. Let's go ahead and double check it in the NFT marketplace. Let's refresh. And then we should see that there we go. There it is, the PAPAFAM logo. This is the amazing logo for the PAPAFAM. Nice. Zombie Face Supreme says, this is how easy Web3 should be. It's crazy, right? I'm not joking. I think people are underestimating how powerful this is, right? I didn't even write a lot of code, but Third Web works so well with the Web3 world that it made our developer experience damn incredible. This is why I love it, right? If I click into this now, you can see we've got the token standard, we've got the token ID, we can transfer, and we've got the owner themselves, which is your boy at A5. There you go. That's me, right? So amazing stuff so far. Okay, now what I do want to mention is if you haven't already signed up to the grand finale on day 5, we're just taking a quick second to mention this here, but make sure you do, because that day I'm going to be teaching all my tips, tricks on how you can take all these skills I'm talking about now and actually nail it and getting your first job and success, like basically succeeding in your career as a software developer. So make sure you go ahead and sign up right now. All the links that you need are in the description down below. Quick little water break. My voice is cracking. Just like that, PAPAFAM, we've got the ability to mint NFTs on our app. That's crazy. That's so powerful, guys, right? That's actually incredible. Okay, so at this point now, I want to build out the list item. So if I click on list item, we go to the create screen, which we created yesterday, right? We done that routing yesterday, but we didn't actually implement the listing function, that page, right? So what we're going to now do is move over to creating the list item page, right? So at this point, we're going to call that page the create page because it's going to be responsible for creating a listing. You probably disagree with that, my naming convention, but who cares? It's okay. TypeScript React functional component. There we go. And make sure you've got create in uppercase like so, right? It's always nice to do that, right? Create and your lowercase for the naming. So now if I go ahead and head over to list item, we should see create. Nice. Let's go ahead and add in our header component. So we've got something to look at. This is a bit nicer than what we have at the moment. And just like that, we have our create page on the screen. Now, if you're wondering what the hell is he building right now, I'm actually going to go ahead and build out this. So the ability to list an item. So we should be able to select from the NFTs inside of our wallet. And then we should be able to go ahead and select direct listing, auction listing, and put a price and create the listing itself. Okay. So at this point, let's go ahead and do this, right? Without further ado, let's just jump into it. I think we're doing really well in the coding front right now. So let's keep moving at this pace. Okay, so we're going to need a few things in order to get this done. First up, we're going to need a few dependencies such as the use router, all these dependencies that we essentially had in the previous one right here. I'm going to go ahead and grab that from here. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. I'm going to pop it in just like so. Right, so we've got our dependencies at the top. And what we're going to need is, first I'm going to need the user if they're signed in. So I'm going to need the address equals use address. Oops. Use address. That's going to give me the address. And then we're going to make a connection to the marketplace now. So remember, before we just did the NFT collection because we're minting to that, right? We needed that contract to interact with it. Now we're going ahead and interacting with the marketplace smart contract. So we're going to make a call to the marketplace contract like so. So in this case, we're going to deconstruct the contract from the call. Then we're going to go ahead and say equals use the contract. And then we're going to use process.env collection. No, it's going to be the marketplace contract, not this. So I'm going to say underscore marketplace. Marketplace contract. And then what I want you to do is put in your quotes, and then we're going to type in a marketplace, simple as. Okay. Now we've got a contract. And then what I want you to do here is console log your contract. Make sure you've actually got this working. Right? It's always a nice way to do it. And I'm going to inspect. You should see marketplace contract just like so. Okay, so that's how you know that you're at the right place. If you don't get that, then you should be debugging to figure it out. Okay, this is really good so far, guys. I'm really proud of everyone. I can see you actually coding along and you're doing damn well at doing it, right? So this is really nice to see. We can get rid of that now, the console. There we go. And in this case, we've got loads and loads of helpful hooks that we can call on, right? So I'm going to go ahead and actually pull in those hooks right now to make our life easier. So to make everything very clear, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be pulling in all those additional hooks right now. So in fact, I'm actually going to replace this block with the ones that I have. So we're still going to keep use address and use contract, but now we have all of these additional ones. We have our use address, use contract here at the top, and then we have media renderer, and we have all these new ones over here as well. So we have media renderer to show the images on the contract, on the NFTs afterwards. We've got the use network mismatch. This will basically be helping us if they're on the wrong network. Use owned NFTs will allow us to pull in the NFTs that the user has, and then this is going to allow us to easily create the auction listing. So much stuff, right? So much stuff. Papicha says, one question, do we need to delete all the console logs before we deploy to production? It's yes, you should be doing that. Yeah. So I believe Next.js will prohibit the console logs from showing, but I would always delete them before you go to production, right? And you can add something like a Husky hook in before you commit your code to make sure that there's no console logs. Okay. We're doing amazing so far, right? So at this point, let's build out some UI. Okay. So we've got the header down here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add in the main section. So for the main section, we're going to have an H1 and an H2. So the H1 is going to say list an item. So this is where we actually list a direct or a auction sell. And then we're going to say H2, select an item you would like to sell, right? You would like to sell. Let's just do it correctly. Sell. Okay. Nice. Now under here, I'm going to have a horizontal line. and then I'm going to have a p tag, and I'm going to have something like below you will find the NFTs you own in your wallet, right? It's only going to be the ones that you own, because you shouldn't be able to list things that you don't own. It doesn't make sense, right? So at that point, let's style this up a little bit. First things first, let's add in that max width constraint. So max width 6XL, MX auto to center our elements, padding of 10, and I'm going to give it a padding top of 2. Nice. Then for the H1, we're going to go ahead and say class name equals text should be 4XL and the font should be bold, right? For the H2 element, I'm going to say that the text should be extra large, the font should be semi-bold, and the padding top should be 5. Nice. All right. Now the horizontal row, we're going to add a margin bottom of 5 to separate it a little bit so we can push things down from there. And then the p tag, we're happy with leaving just like that. Now underneath here, we're going to have all of our owned NFTs. So we're going to have this section here. I'm going to make it clickable so you can go ahead and actually click on an NFT that you own. So we're going to have a div here. And I need to get my owned NFTs. How do I get my owned NFTs? So we've got this use owned NFTs call here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make a call to my use owned NFTs call, right? So at this point, what I can do is I can say const owned NFTs equals use owned. Let me go ahead and oops. Use owned NFTs, and I pass in the collection contract. So in this case, what we need to do is we've got the marketplace contract. I need another contract. I actually need the collection contract as well. So in this case, I can make the same call, but I can change this to the collection. I can change this to our NFT collection. And then here, what I can do is I can rename this to the collection contract. Okay. So I can pass in my collection contract, and then I have to pass in the owner's address. So this is the person who is signed in. So just like that, I've got 2 contracts. One is my collection contract, one is my marketplace contract. And then I'm going to go ahead and pass in my collection contract the address, and it will give me back the NFTs I own. So in this case, if I go ahead and show my owned NFTs, owned NFTs, and I inspect, we should be able to see now, guys, that we've got an object that you can see that inside of data, I've got undefined. Let's go ahead and refresh. Okay. So this user, let's see what I've done here. Right. So what I would do here is I'll debug. So firstly, I would say console log. The address is, just to be sure that I've got the correct address. Okay. So the address that I'm logged in as, then I would say owned NFTs. And then I would pop this in like so. Okay. Now, if I inspect, you can see the address is undefined. So that's where my issue lies, right? And that's because my wallet is not connected. Okay, awesome. So we know what the issue is. So you see, that's what I would do to debug this. So then I can see it's a simple mistake on my end. I connect my wallet, and now I can see I get some something behind here with the owned NFTs. So if I look inside there, I've got an array of 6, and you can see, yes, in fact, I have got the PAPAFAM logo as my last one, which is correct. Right, and it's got the image and URL and all that other good stuff, right? Yoni says, too good to be true should used to be a warning sign. Yeah, I know, dude. It's crazy, right? So in this case, we've got our NFTs that we can go ahead and then pull. So that's what I'm saying that's my little debugging tricks. I don't even use all these fancy tools. I just do a quick little sort of trick to make sure that I know what I'm at, where I'm at, right? So now we've got this. I can go into my div and I can say owned NFTs. So owned NFTs.map. And what I want to do is I want to do optional chaining here to prevent any issues from arising, right? But in fact, I'm doing .data.map, right? So data.map. I'm going to say for every single NFT, right? So for every single NFT, I'm going to go ahead and parentheses return. So this means a direct return. I'm going to go ahead and say div. And first up, when you map through something, you should be given it a key. So in this case, I'm going to say NFT dot, and we've got a bunch of things here. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the metadata dot ID is my key. Okay. Then we're going to go ahead and pass in media renderer, which is going to be for the image. So in this case, we've got NFT dot metadata dot image. It's going to be for it's not media here. It's going to be source. Okay. And then you can see I've got my images of all the NFTs that I own. And then I'm going to go ahead and give that a class name. So I'm going to style this out a little bit as well, so it's not going to be huge. First thing I want to say is a height of 48 and around the corners. Okay. Then underneath this, I'm going to have 2 p tags. So p times by 2 gives me my p tag. And here I can say nft.metadata dot name. And yes, you can destructure it if you want at the top. I'm just doing it to show you because it's a little bit easier when you've got your IntelliSense to go ahead and give you your suggestions afterwards, especially when you're new to this kind of thing. So now you can see we've got all of the stuff and we've got the descriptions under it if it has a description. Okay, so first up, I want to go ahead and make this text small. So text should be extra small. And then for the top one, I'm going to say that the text should be extra small. I'm actually going to truncate this as well in case it gets too long. For this one, I'm going to say the text should be large. So text should be large. Truncate it if it's too long. And I want to do the font should be bold. Okay, there we go. Looking good. Now for this overall div, this is horrible. I want to style it out a little bit so that way we can see what the hell's happening here. I'm going to say that each of these individual divs that we're rendering out are going to go ahead and actually have the following style. So I'm going to say, oops, should be flex. There should be a flex column. I'm going to give space between the Y components of 2. And we're going to give it the card styling. So remember, we created a custom card styling in the previous video. Min, width, fit, right? And then I'm going to say border is of 2 and the background should be gray 100. Okay, looking very nice so far. Okay, so at this point, now you can see we've got a nice column and everything is as we expected it. I just want to see something right now. So that's correct. Yeah. So the surrounding div, we want to basically make it so that we can go ahead and have space between these components as well. So here I'm going to say flex. So they're in a row. I'm going to say overflow X scroll. So I want to have this like single scrollable horizontal container. So you can see we can scroll through it. Then I'm going to say space them between, so they're not touching with a value of 2. So now you know they're not touching. And then we're going to give it a padding of 4. So it's a bit more breathable, right? So in this case, now you can see it's got a really nice kind of container here. So let's go forward and we can scroll through it and see where our NFTs are at. Okay. Let's check this out. This is nice. So at this point, if I click into it, I want it to highlight the selected NFT that I have. So how the hell do I do that? Well, very simple. All I need to do is create a piece of state to keep track of what I've selected. So in this case, I'm going to create a piece of state called selected NFT. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and pop it out. There we go. I don't need this. We need to just import React like so. And then what I can do here is this is not going to be a string. This is going to be of type NFT, right? So NFT. There we go. Now I do find a lot of people get NFT mixed up. They see NFT as like this thing that people are just buying and selling for crazy numbers, and it's like a meaningless thing. It's not. It's what an NFT represents. It's simply an item on the blockchain which is unique. Think about the possibilities with just that. Like, don't think about what, oh yeah, okay, people are buying, selling this thing for crazy numbers. Think about what you can do with that, right? If there's a contract, you have a way to prove that is the only contract that is sitting there on the blockchain. No one can copy it. No one can do anything to it. That is the individual, unique contract that nobody can tamper with. Like, it's damn crazy powerful, right? I don't think it's clicked in everyone's head yet how damn powerful that is, right? So at this point, when I click on this, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set the NFT as the NFT value here. So we're going to do an arrow function and we're going to set the selected NFT as the NFT that I'm mapping through. So now I have a way of showing which one is selected. So at this point, when I click this, it will actually store that in my local state. To test this, I can go ahead and console log my selected NFT and you'll go ahead and see as I click it, it will show me a different one. So if I click this, you can see I've got a different one. If I click this, I've got a different one. If I go ahead and click this, it's going ahead and doing it accordingly. So I've clicked the PAPAFAM play. If I click the PAPAFAM logo, you should see down here, metadata PAPAFAM logo. All right, so it shows which one I'm selected in. We've got a stateful component now, okay? So at this point, what I can do is I can conditionally render the style based on that. So I'm going to change this to backticks, because we're going to do some string interpolation magic here. And I'm going to go ahead and say, if it's a selected item, so if you've gone ahead and selected it, then I'm going to go ahead and actually have, what am I doing? Then I'm going to go ahead and have the style be changed based on that. So what I can do here is I can say, if the NFT that we're cycling through, so if the ID matches the selected NFT dot metadata dot ID, okay? And again, that could be optional. So then what we're going to do is we're going to change the border to be black. Okay. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and say the border should be transparent. should be transparent. Now, look what happens, guys. If I click it, whoa, look at that. Simple as bam. When I click it, the border goes black, right? So now I've got a way of selecting NFTs from a wallet that I own, right? So this is good. Mahfouz says, oh, baby, it's working for me. That's what I'm talking about, dude. Nice, okay? So this is looking pretty damn sick so far. We've got the NFT metadata, NFT name. This is all great. Now, outside of our image here, what I now want to do is outside of the entire div, we need to hop outside the div, and I'm going to go ahead and check now. So when you've selected a div, what I want to happen is when you select it, I want this to pop out, right? So notice how when I come onto this screen for the first time, for now it's actually showing this regardless, but I've actually changed that code and I've got to change it back. So what we want to do is I want to hide these buttons until you select it. So now what I can do is I can say selected NFT, and so only when you've selected an NFT should the next part show up. So if you do that, I'm going to show a form, right? And this form is going to be the form that you're seeing here. Okay, so it's going to have a few different components on it. It's going to have a div, and inside of it, we've got the form section. So we're going to have a div called, we're going to flex, class name, flex, and this is going to have a flex column, padding of 10. And inside of here, we've got a label input, label input, label input, right? So simple to what we had previously, we're going to have a label. There we go. And an input. And for the first label, we're going to go ahead and say direct listing or fixed price, right? And then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing here. And this one's not going to be direct listing or fixed, it's going to be auction. And these aren't going to be texts. These are going to be something called radio buttons. Now, how do you have a group of radio buttons where when you change one value, it assigns like this? So you can't have both ticked at the same time. Well, how do you do that? Well, it's very simple. You just change the type to something called a radio, and you give each one the same name, okay? So you give the name something called a listing type. So here, what we do is we go ahead and give it name listing type. So now what you should see, if we go over to my local host, sorry, what am I doing? Right, so if we go here now, you should be able to see it's only highlighting one. That means we've done it correctly at this point, okay? So at this point now, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and give each one an individual value. So that way, when we pull it from the form data, we can go ahead and use that value to basically code out a solution. So here, I'm going to give this a value of direct listing because this is going to be for the direct listing. And I'm going to give this one a value of auction listing. Okay. And then we can use that afterwards to do all the magic stuff that we want to do. So for the class name for both of these, I'm going to go ahead and style them accordingly. So I'm going to go multi-cursor up. Last name, margin left of auto and a height of width of 10. So there you go. Looks a bit neater. And then for the labels, I'm going to go ahead and say, oops. There you go. I'm going to, oops. Okay. Label. So if I click here and I click option and click at the end here, I can do multi-cursor. And then here, what I want to do is I'm going to say border right, font light. Hit save. Okay, and you can see this ain't looking very nice, right? And this is because we want to basically style this out in a way that it kind of aligns. So I'm going to use something called a grid here, CSS grid, and I'm going to make it grid columns 2, padding of 10, right? Actually, no, I want to do gap of 5. Yeah. I've messed up my my order here. So this should have been here. And this should have been, yep, grid, columns 2, padding of a gap 5. There you go. Nice. And you can see I've even got my little line in between, right? And that's from my border right. So what I've done here is because I've done grid columns 2, it's like first column, second column, next row. First column, second column, next row, and so forth, right? That's why it's structured in this way, right? So what we can now do is we can have a price and an input. So I'm going to go ahead and do the price and input like so. And the way we do this is very simple. We just have a label. This is going to say the price. So price. And then we've got the input here. And this placeholder, I'm going to give a value of 0.05. Okay. And I'm going to give this class name a little bit of a styling here. I'm going to say class name should be something like BG gray 100 padding of 5. Okay, so there you go, popping in very nicely. For the label, I'm going to go ahead and say border should be our font light. For our font should be light, like so. Nice. And just like that, we're starting to see what we're kind of going for, right? So that's already looking pretty damn nice. Right. Now for the input, we're going to give this a name of price so we can actually get those values from the form submission afterwards. Okay. And the final magic bit to this is we can go ahead and create the listing. So here I'm going to say a button outside of my div afterwards. And this button is going to say create listing. So that's outside my grid. Right. And then we're going to say it's going to be BG blue 600. Text should be white, rounded large, and padding of 4, margin top of 8. Bam, hit save. Just like that, we have a beautiful looking button. And if we go ahead and make it bigger, look at that, it's so clean, right? Super, super clean, right? So at this point, what we want to do is this is going to have a type of submit. So that way, when we push the submit on the form, it's going to go ahead and trigger this off. When we click the button, it's going to be the same as hitting enter on the keyboard. Now, when we submit, I just need to go ahead and create a function called handle create listing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say handle create listing. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and create this function at the top right now. So over here, I'm going to say const handle create listing, and it's going to be an asynchronous function that we're going to go ahead and call. Now, remember, we're going to have something called async. We have the E over here. Now, if you've forgotten how to do that little trick I told you about earlier, E arrow, let's go here. Let's go ahead and grab our form event, and then we can get rid of this call. That's the signature. Then we can go ahead and do this, import our special thing, and we just like that, we have a perfect type definition. Okay, so when the user submits this form now, what the hell should happen? Well, we want to go ahead and basically check if it's a direct listing. I need to call the relevant code to make it a direct listing. So we actually go ahead and we're basically mimicking this now, right? So I'm going to go ahead and select an NFT, which is what we're doing in our code. We select an NFT, then we go ahead and select direct or auction price. So it's going to go ahead and do this. Then we basically go ahead and give a price, reserve price, blah, 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 all this kind of good stuff. We're doing that in our app now. Okay, quick little water break before we go ahead and power on. We're doing bloody amazing right now. Wait, do we need to create a form automatically? I'm not sure what you mean, dude. Okay, so at this point, now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say, firstly, I want to check if the user is on the right network, right? So imagine if they're on the Bitcoin network or something like that, right? They can't do this. So we need to go ahead and make sure they're on the correct network. So remember, I pulled in 2 helpful hooks, use network and use network mismatch earlier. I'm going to go ahead and pull in those values now. So the first thing I want to do is network mismatch. Network mismatch equals use network mismatch. And what this will do is it will allow me to check if you're on the wrong network. Then I'm going to go ahead and get something called the switch network. So I don't need the first argument, so I can get rid of it. And instead, I just need the switch network because this is returning 2 items. Instead, I can just go ahead and do that to skip over the first one. And I can do that. By the way, if you're wondering, that's how you do that, right? If you only need the second argument in an array destructuring, then you can go ahead and do the following. So in this case, you see there's an example when you highlight over it. So hit save. And we've got switch network. Okay, so at this point now, what I can do is I'm going to give you a little comment here that will help you out a little bit as I'm coding it along, right? So this is essentially what we're doing as I code out now, right? So we're going to go and say if there's a network mismatch. Okay, then what I want to do is I want to go ahead and say that we should go ahead and switch the network. Firstly, I want to check that that function is even there. Then I want to switch network. Now, how do you switch the network to the one that we want? Right. Well, in this case, what you could do is you could do chain ID dot, and you get all the different ones. But remember, you could have inconsistencies. So does anyone remember why we did that network call in the beginning? So we created a file called network where we select it once here. And we can, like, at the same point consistently use it. So now what I can do is I can go ahead and pull in my network, and we can use that call, which is pulling from our utils. That way, everywhere we're making sure that we're connected to the correct network. really nice, right? And then we can go ahead and return. So at that point, you would basically call that button. It would ask you to switch your network, and then you would do something. No, you want to use the form tag, because then you can have a submit. If you don't use form tag, you can't do a submit, right? You just have a click, and then you won't have the functionality where if you type in the form and hit enter, it submits the form. If you've done a normal div, you don't have that enter natural functionality that we expect. Okay, so then we're going to say if there is no selected NFT, then you might as well return. So these are just defensive programming blocks, which makes our code easier. It won't get past that if there's nothing there, right? We are going to e.prevent default by otherwise, if you don't have this call and you submit a form, it refreshes the page because it's used to the PHP days, right? Then we're going to go ahead and get the listing type and price from the form submission, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to destructure the listing type, which is the radio buttons, and the price, which I believe we set over here, name price, right? From the form itself. So we can say e.target.elements. And you see how I don't got my autocomplete there, but there you go, e.target.elements. Okay, now you can see it's freaking out a little bit. Now, why is it freaking out? Let's have a quick look. So in this case, I've actually set e to any. So okay, so what we could do here is exactly what we did in the previous example. So if we go over here, we can go ahead and actually add in our own type here. So what we can do is we can say const target equals e target type of target, and here we've got elements, right? So dot elements dot listing type. So in this case, what I can do is I can get listing type value string and price value string, just like that. And then if we go here and get rid of this, bam, just like that, we should have our target. So let me just double check what's going on here. I've got my target. All right, so I've not closed this up correctly. There we go. Target dot elements. There we go. All right, and then that will have the values inside of it. Okay, awesome. Right, so at this point, what I can now do is thank you, Code Giron. Right, that's awesome stuff. Now what we can do is we can go ahead and say we want to basically do a check now, right? I want to check. You can use a switch here as well, by the way. I'm not just ruling that out, but we're going to say for direct listings. So if listing type dot value is equivalent to a direct listing, right, which is basically what I've set it as to here. So if you selected the direct listing radio button, and you could make an enum here, or you could make like a const check or something like that, which would probably be cleaner. Then we're going to use something called the create direct listing, right? So remember we pulled in these use owned auction, use create auction listing, use direct listing here. We're going to go ahead and use that now, right? So what I need to do is I need to make some calls to allow us to basically use these hooks. Okay, so the first one is I'm going to say const. I'm going to have a direct listing. So I'm going to say we're going to pull a few things here. We're going to have a mutate function. We're going to have a is loading function, and we're going to have an error function from the use create direct listing. And what we're doing here is we pass in our contract, which is our next public marketplace contract, right? Now you can see we've got mutators, and if you're wondering how the hell did he know that, if you hover over this, you can see an example of how they do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to rename our mutate to create direct listing, right? Because what we're going to need is the same code block before the use create auction. So I'm going to go ahead and make our life easier and pop this down below underneath it now. So I've done the same thing. Now you can see we've got clashes with the naming. Right, so we've got, you know, is loading. So what you could do if you need both is you could go ahead and rename the second one or rename both to is loading direct and is error direct. You could do that, and now you've got all the values that you could possibly want, right? So we're going to use this create direct listing hook to help us out, make life a little bit easier. So at this point, we're going to say if it's a direct listing, then what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a direct listing. Now, what you do is you simply pass in an object of variables. Now, if I press Control Spacebar, I can see what I need to go ahead and pass in. The only thing that's optional here is type. Everything else is mandatory. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and explain what we're going to pass in. So when we mint, you see all this information. This is essentially what we need to pass in. So what I'm going to do is pass that in the form of code here. So firstly, we've got the asset contract address. This is going to be the collection address that we're going to go ahead and mint from. So our NFT item that we minted earlier belongs to an NFT collection. We have to pass that address in to this call. So what we're going to do is we're going to say process.environment, and then we're going to give it the next public collection address, right? So collection address. And we're going to say that it's definitely there, right? So that's where you do exclamation mark. Otherwise it thinks that it could be undefined, right? So you could protect yourself by having an if statement at the top, whatever, okay? So at this point, we're going to say token, and I'm going to say selected NFT, selected NFT dot metadata.id. And the reason for this is this token is basically how it's stored inside. So you see token ID in that collection. So basically what I'm saying is go to that collection at this address and go and find this token. And we know that because we selected that NFT from our wallet. Right? Then we need to give it the currency of the contract address. So we need something called the native token address. So for now, I'm in the Mumbai network, which means I'm using Polygon Matic. But how do I know and how do I keep this dynamic and all this good stuff, right? Well, we're going to actually use something from the SDK. So what we're going to say is we're going to go ahead and pull in the following dependencies. We need the native tokens, native token address, and the NFT dependency. So bam, just like that. These two are the ones that we're going to use. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and hide this now. And my prettier seem to die on me for some reason. What's going on here? Okay. That's interesting. Maybe it's just down here. Yeah, that's why. So token selected NFT. It's not starting to create a new address. This thing. So I've actually made a little mistake here, where I've got my token ID, selected NFT, NFT.metadata.id. Oh, sorry, token ID, my bad, right? Then we've got currency contract address. This is going to be the native token address. And this is basically an address that resembles Matic, or if we're in Gurley, it's going to resemble Gurley and so forth. Then we've got the listing duration in seconds. Now I've got a default here of 1 week, but you can go ahead and make it whatever you want. So it's in seconds. So we've got 60 seconds times by an hour, times by 24 hours in a day, times by 7 days in a week. Right? So that's how you get a week. Then we've got our next argument, which is going to be the quantity. Now, in this case, we've only got a quantity of 1, but you could have more than 1 if you wanted to, right? If you had like a quantity option or that kind of thing, you could buy several. In this case, these NFTs are unique, so we're going to say quantity of 1. We then have something called the buyout price per token. This is the price that you're going to set on the token, and we're going to do price.value, which is from our form that we entered in. Then you've got the start timestamp, which is going to be the date. So new date, very simple, right? Now that is an entire listing in the form of this. So we basically just programmatically did that, okay? Now, once that's done, what this will do is it will return a few options to us, right? We've got on success, on error, on settled, and so forth. So what we can do is we can tap into these functions to see what the hell's going on. So what I'm going to do is on success, sorry, not on this one. I'm going to go ahead and say on success. I go down here and I've got this. I can say console log out the data, variables, and context, so I can see when it's successful, right? And then what we can do is we can redirect the user to the home screen afterwards, right? And what I'm going to do just for context here is I'm going to go ahead and say success, and then I'm going to log it out like so. Now we need our router to redirect the user, so I'm going to go ahead and at the top say const router equals use router. There we go. And I've imported it at the top like so. And then we're going to go back down to our code, and then we've done a successful redirect. We're also going to catch the error case. So we're going to go ahead and say, if there was an error, then we're going to say error, and we're going to log it out. And then at this point, we're just going to leave the user there, right? And we're not going to have, afterwards, we're going to have toast notifications. That's going to be tomorrow when we add in the toast notifications. So in this case, on success, on error, done. Okay, very nice. So that's for direct listings, all done. Okay, so after that, we're going to say, well, what if it's a auction listing, right? So in this case, I'm gonna say, what if the listing type is of type auction listing? Now, okay, that's just done the whole block for me. If listing type dot value is equivalent to auction listing, and you can see GitHub Copilot's going ahead of me there, but I don't want to just jump ahead and just skip ahead everything. So if it's of type auction listing, then what I'm going to do is create an auction listing. So creating an auction listing is very similar to what we've got going on before. Thank you so much, Ben Carter. $5 Canadian donation. Crazy sick build web. Crazy sick build. Third web is so powerful. Honestly, third web is game changer in this space. Is making NFTs and Web3 development so damn fun for developers. I can't stress it enough. So thank you so much, Benkai, OG of the PAPAFAM as well. Right, so we're going to click create auction listing. And then here, we're going to pass in a bunch of variables. Now, this one's very similar to what we had previously, right? We've got, you know, the asset contract address. We've got the buyout price token, same as before. We've even got the same start timestamp, the same listing quantity. The only thing that's different here is we have something called a reserve price per token. Now, what is this? This means that you have to basically meet that price if you're going to go ahead and do what you're going to do. Now, in this case, what is going on here? Why is that freaking out? Did you mean selected NFT? There you go. Sorry. Right. So in this case, the buyout. So whenever you create an auction listing, you have a buyout price, right? This is going to be the basically, if I want to buy the auction listing directly, and I just want to kind of bypass everything and do a buy now price, you can set like a maximum price, right? So imagine if I wanted to set my maximum price at 100 Ethereum, right? You have to pay me 100 Ethereum to win my auction. Otherwise, everyone can bid up to it, and then I can let the biggest bidder win. But if someone wants to skip the whole bidding process to buy out, then that's what the buyout price is, right? So that's that right there. And then you've got the reserve price. In this case, we haven't set reserve, right? So we're just gonna say, you don't have a reserve, it's 0. But you could basically say that you would have to go ahead and have a reserve of this. And if it's not met, then we're not gonna sell a token, right? But in this case, it's gonna go ahead and sell based on the highest bidder, right? So after that's done, let's go ahead and do the same thing that we did previously on success, right? We're going to go ahead and console log, and then we're going to redirect the user. And then over here, we're going to say on error. Oops, sorry, on error. Sorry, guys, I've messed that one up. I'm going to say on error. And then we're going to have a console log error, and then we're going to leave the user there, right? So that's basically the auction listing and direct listings handled. So here we have the, if it's auction listing, handle it accordingly. If it's direct listing, handle it accordingly. So let's give this a try, right? Let's go ahead and see if we can create a listing now, right? So we're inside of our NFT marketplace. I do have a bunch of listings that we've gone ahead and done as an example. But what I can do is, you see, when I click it, it showed me this awesome, great stuff. Now what I can do is I can go ahead and say, all right, let's go ahead and do React Basics 101. I'm going to create a direct listing, and I'm going to call this one 0.00000999999, right? And I'm going to do this one, just say 9123455. So we know it's this one. Now I recommend you do 0.000 when you're testing, because you don't want to run through all your test currency, right? If you start doing 0.4, you're going to run out your test cryptocurrency before you even started, right? So you want to make sure you keep it quite light. Now I'm going to click create listing. And let's see if we've got any errors or any of that good stuff, right? So at this point, okay, we've got a bit of an error. Okay, that's fine. We're already logged in. Where's my MetaMask? Here we are, right? So create listing call. Okay, awesome. Let's go down. Let's confirm. So right now it's creating a listing call. Let's cancel that out. Creating a listing call. So we've got the React Basics 101, and we're creating a direct listing at this price. So let's see if we did everything correctly. Then we should have a successful listing being made right now. All right, so remember, it will take some time, so you can check on the status here, create listing, and this is literally putting it onto the blockchain. So it's a real transaction, a real thing happening right now. And there you go, success. We got the receipt, we've got the proof of the transactions, we've got nice receipt ID, all that good stuff. So you can see exactly the block hash and all that kind of stuff that it went up on. And we should see it here. There we go. React Basics 101, 0.00914 Matic. Amazing. Right now, notice how you can have more than one direct listing, right? But you can't have more than one auction listing. So the reason for this is basically, think of it this way. When you're listing an item, if you put up like the same item as different direct auction listings, what you're doing is you're essentially saying, I'm setting it at this price, this price, this price. May not make sense, but the item isn't basically withheld. Is as soon as somebody buys one of those, they all come off. Right? But with an auction, you can only list it once, right? So I'm going to show you, I'm going to list the same React Basics module, and I'm going to go ahead and set it as an auction. And then what you should see is it won't be available to list again until that auction is over. And that's because it needs to be reserved for that auction, because then it's basically getting bidded on and so forth. But direct listings doesn't actually get reserved. So you could have technically 10 direct listings, right? So we're going to set an auction listing of 0.00001234567, right? I don't know if that's going to work, but there you go. So we're going to create an auction listing, and let's go ahead and see what's happening. Okay, so we've gone ahead and made the call. Create listing has been called. Amazing stuff. We've got the data, all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and confirm. Okay, so right now the transaction is taking place on our smart contract. It's going ahead and it's passing in that data to prepare and create a auction listing via the Third Web SDK. It was a success. It is now done. If I scroll down, we should see in just a second that we have that on here right now. So, okay, so as you can see now, we've got 0.00012345667. Amazing, right? That is an auction right there. And as you can see now, look at that. We've got the the auction right there. So if I list an item, notice how in just a second the React Basics is gone, right? That's because, remember, as I said, once you have an auction, it's reserved, right? It's reserved. It can no longer be there on your marketplace, right? So awesome, amazing stuff, right? As you can see now, we have an auction available. So with that said, we literally went ahead and guys, yeah, if you haven't already, smash that like button. Help us push this video out to as many people as possible, right? So right now, what we just did was, I can't stress this enough. What we just did was incredibly powerful, and it was so simple to get that functionality working, right? We first went and created an add to inventory function where you could go ahead, add in your item description. You can choose an image for your item, and then you can mint it. What you then did was you minted it. So in this case, we minted an item to our NFT collection, right? At this point, it's inside of your wallet. So you see there's different owners here for each item inside of our NFT collection. Then you are able to list an item that you own. Right, so we go ahead, we see what the user owns inside their NFT collection, and then we can go ahead and actually create a listing. So we basically built out the programmatic function from this minting on the left hand side for the NFT collection contract, the smart contract, and on the right hand side we went ahead and mimicked out the create listing functionality. So here what we did is we allowed the user to select from their available NFTs, so the PAPAFAM logo. We then allowed them to go ahead and choose whether they want a direct listing or an auction listing, and you can go ahead and disable this if none of this is selected, so forth. You can upgrade it, right? And then we can go ahead and set a price, right? So we could go ahead and do something like 9991, right? Create the listing. At this point, it's actually going ahead and interacting with our smart contract. We can then go ahead and confirm the transaction. What it will then do is it will take this metadata, upload it, and create us an auction listing in our NFT in our marketplace smart contract, which lives on the blockchain, and it will go ahead and let users then go ahead and actually bid and buy that listing. So then they will actually own it after that. So it will transfer ownership from one person to another, right? So once that's successfully done, it would redirect me. So after this create listing is successfully done, it redirects me, and then we see our new item. So the PAPAFAM logo, I believe, should pop in here in just a second. There you go. Was it that one? It was actually the I selected React Basics. Oh, okay, I done it twice then, my bad. Right, so in that point we went ahead and listed it out, right? So the React Basics is up. There you go. Okay, so at this point now you can see, and the reason why it might seem confusing is because I actually minted the same NFT twice. That's why you can see two different listings. They're not the same item. It's just I minted it twice. So I know it can be a little bit confusing, but it's fine. All right, so there's technically two different items. So now if I switch my developer account, you'll see that in this guy's wallet, that he doesn't own any here. So you would have to add to your inventory before you could. But for this one, you can go ahead and sell directly from your inventory. Right? So with that said, we just implemented two incredibly powerful things, the add to inventory and the list item functionality. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and deploy it, because once you deploy it, you can get that URL, submit your homework, get those bonus points in, and prepare for day 4 of the challenge. So now in order to deploy it, we set everything up yesterday to be very simple to do this. So what we can do here is head over to our terminal, go ahead and commit the changes. So we've got our changed files over here. So I'm going to do git add. I'm going to show you both, right? So I showed you yesterday how to do it on the command line, but here if you want to do it, we've got our changes. So firstly, you can go ahead and review all of your changes. You can see we added all these changes, we added all of this stuff, we added in the CSS over here. So I'm going to add in all of my changes to this commit, and then I'm going to go ahead and actually So somebody says, why is the item React Basics 101 shown twice in the auction mode? That's because it was two different NFTs that I minted when I was testing this out. I ended up using the same picture and writing React Basics twice. So technically they're two different items. So that's why it can seem confusing, but they are different. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to say day 3 commit, right? Day 3 commit and commit, right? At this point, I'm going to push up to the branch. I'm going to say git push. And what this will do is it will push my code to my GitHub repo. And we set that up yesterday. So if I head over to Vercel, what we should see now is because I just pushed my code, it will actually trigger a redeployment. So you can see I just pushed my code. So let's go ahead and see what's going on right now. Well, in this case, you can see it actually automatically triggers a build process and it will automatically go ahead and upload my day 3 commit. So let's go ahead and dive into the build status. Once this is done, what it will go ahead and allow us to do is, if we see the build, you can see it's all going ahead and building nicely. What we can then do is head over to our day 3 homework. So Jay can send me that link right now. I believe I have it. But let me go ahead and just grab that link for you guys, which would be quite easy to get in just a second. I've got it in the description. 2 seconds, guys. I'm going to go ahead and grab that link right now. On my side. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what the homework link is right now. So let me see. I've got my PAPAFAM. There we go. So Jay sent me the wrong link. That's the wrong one. I'm going to go ahead and head over to the link now. So I'll get the link up in a second. But in this case, let me just show you in advance. Okay, so in this case, you can see it's successfully deployed, right? So I've got the eBay clone third web YouTube Vercel app. So let's go ahead and check out the link right now. Right, so in this case, we've got this right here. So we're loading out the listings and then we should see our listings here. Nice, we've got everything up there. And then we can go ahead and add items to inventory. So that's sick. Our functionality is there. We can go ahead and list items and everything that we had previously is now live on Vercel. Awesome. So what I would then want you to do is go to your baseline link, head over to the homework link, which is papareact.com eBay challenge day 3 homework. The link is also in the description. Okay. And then what I need you to do is go ahead and head down, put in your name. So Sunny Sanga, copy in your link. So in this case, this one right here, and it will be the same link as before. Right, and we will be checking these. And if you had no difficulty, fully complete, otherwise partially complete, hit submit. And that is your homework for day 3, right? So that was absolutely incredible. I'm going to give you a quick run through as to what you can expect in day 4 of the build. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what's going to be possible in day 4. So once we have our listings up, which we've already done now, we want to go ahead and actually make offers, bid, and actually buy those listings. So in day 4 of the challenge, you're going to go ahead and figure out how to build the actual item listing page. So in this case, we've got a listing for an NFT, and this one is of 0.0009. This is the completed build. And we can go ahead and actually have a bidding section. If it's a bidding type, we can go ahead and buy or place bids on it. And this will actually go ahead and increment the bid amount. And we can even go ahead and do buy now items. So if we go ahead and see a buy now, we can actually go ahead and make offers, and then we will list out the offers on the screen. So you can actually go ahead and build out the auction functionality and the direct listing buying functionality. So tomorrow is essentially the payment processing section of the eBay.js clone. So with that said, guys, that was absolutely incredible build. Your energy has been fantastic today. Smash that like button if you've enjoyed this so far. And as I mentioned before, sign up to the last day event where I'm going to be showing you the ultimate developer roadmap to becoming a badass developer in the year 2022. So you don't want to miss it. That's where you get all your free goodies. That's where you're going to get a bunch of stuff. And I'm going to drop something that I've never dropped on this channel before, an offer to join us at 0 to Full Stack Hero as well. So make sure you sign up to the final day event. And as always, guys, we know how to wrap this out the PAPAFAM way. We're going to go ahead and do it in style with the PAPAFAM anthem. This is what we built today. I'm going to give it one more run through. We've got our amazing eBay clone day 3 technical build where you can go ahead, add items to your inventory, list them accordingly, dynamically, and you can go ahead and you're essentially interacting with 2 different smart contracts to make an eBay marketplace. That is damn powerful, and it works across different networks: Polygon, Solana, Ethereum. No matter what you do, we built it in a way that works. This is the power of Third Web. It's absolutely game changer. I'm telling you, this video is here to stay, because Third Web is doing nothing but blowing up now. So you're at the beginning of something, of the next Web3 generation. And trust me when I say, whether it's now or whether it's in a few months, everyone's going to realize this is a new way to do things. So I hope you've enjoyed that, guys. I will see you in day 4 for the eBay 5-day JS challenge. I will see you then. Peace, PAPAFAM. Enjoy.